work in this space.
Even though you're not doing your own thing, it is still definitely you're working for yourself.
Passion, whatever it is, and there's a way to bring value of that into Web3. I used to work for Red Bull, so anything to get us back into F1, I would be.
You work for Red Bull? Hey all, this is Zach from AY Vision. Today we are recording our third podcast interview conversation, whatever you want to call it, with Quix from Solflare. He is the lead marketer at Solflare, which is a Web3 wallet application. We'll get much more into that very, very soon. Quix, it's a pleasure to speak with you on today's episode. Thank you for taking the time to join me. Please introduce yourself for anybody who doesn't know who you are, where you come from. Why are you on this podcast today? Tell us a bit about yourself, please.
GM Zach, and thank you AY Studios and community for having me on. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. Before you learn about me, make sure you're taking a second to smash that subscribe button and support the channel, because this is going to be full of education and entertainment. But I am Quix. I am with the Solflare marketing team. Solflare is the first self-custody wallet on Solana, and it's the only wallet that's built specifically just for Solana. I handle a lot of the marketing as far as with the socials, going to events. We do a weekly stream. We have a lot of spaces that we support and get invited to throughout the ecosystem. And kind of just wear any type of hat fox. Anything that Solflare needs done or anywhere I need to go travel, I'm there, and Solflare can count on me. So it's an honor to rock a brand that's like truly built towards like pushing the Solana ecosystem forward.
Amazing. Did you know about Solflare before actually getting the role? Or how were you able to position yourself to be like, okay, Solflare is now hiring me as their lead marketer? How did that start? You know, I'm sure it didn't just happen, right? So tell us a bit about maybe your past marketing jobs. What led you to get Solflare's attention?
Great question. And so Solflare, I started as like anyone else in the Solana ecosystem. It was actually my first wallet, and I used it forever. And they started an ambassador program, and I had been in the ecosystem for quite some time, hosting spaces, building a brand. A lot of communities knew me, and I was
Networking and
invited.
stuff.
Exactly. And from there, I was invited to the ambassador program. And with that, I just kind of took advantage of the opportunity, repped Solflare to the fullest. I actually was offered a position in the support to start with as like kind of an entry level joining the team for Solflare. And I crushed it there, but I knew that I wanted to do more. So I took it upon myself to make it out to Breakpoint in Singapore 2024 last year.
Nice. Okay.
And met the team, and they loved me. I was doing interviews and filming, and they were like, we need you on marketing. And so they brought me on marketing. I was full-time starting in December this year. We had like 120,000 followers on our Solflare account, you know, after like 5 years. And now since then, we've doubled. We've hosted like well over 30 spaces. We do a weekly stream. We're in part of all these different communities. We started our own community. And so, yeah, I've created a lot more work for myself than when I first started as an ambassador.
Definitely. So they knew you were an ambassador prior to you meeting the team at Breakpoint, right? So they already knew that you were repping that much, and that you were, you know, really interested in the product, you liked the team and stuff. Okay. So
They
that's
were
good.
so surprised that just like a support specialist and ambassador flew all the way to Southeast Asia just to attend Breakpoint. Like that level of commitment alone and that like
Right.
belief in myself was like that got their major attention. And then obviously me being outgoing and meeting people and doing interviews was like that solidified the position to, you know, kind of be
No, I
promoted.
mean, if you're crossing practically continents to fly to a convention, I think that shows pretty good dedication to wanting to be a part of it. Definitely. Okay. Um, uh, so prior to Solflare, did you do marketing for any other products or projects? And also, I want to know why marketing? You know, Web3 has so many opportunities. What made you be like, okay, I'm gonna put my time into marketing. I'm not gonna do this, this, and that. Did it speak to you? Did you actually enjoy doing it? Were you good at it? What made you keep on pushing in that niche, so to say?
You know, that's such a great question, Zach. And so prior to this, I was doing marketing in a smaller sense, specifically for spaces, and hosting Twitter spaces and doing like kind of campaigns and some threads for projects that I was like either a part of or just like truly believed in, not really trying to monetize, again, just trying to build my brand. And I think that one of the most intriguing aspects of marketing in Web3 is that it's so versatile. What people may think is only just like, oh, you're just running the socials and replying, but like realistically, you're the face of the company. That means that you have like first touch point with the community. So there's community aspect building of it. There's problem solving, because anytime like someone has an issue with a wallet or a question, they're going to come to you first, because as soon as they think of like Solflare, they're thinking of Quicks, and
A
that you're
lot
going to
of
start.
responsibility, a lot of weight on your shoulders. As being the face of a large product is can definitely take a toll, you know, because you're responsible for basically the image, right, of the company. So that's
Exactly.
great.
And then also like the business development aspect, which is a that always marketing and business development go hand in hand, you know, because when someone reaches out to you or they find you through marketing, you know, it's like you start talking to see what type of synergy we have, how can we help benefit, what kind of campaign, and it
How can
just
you
generally
leverage
leads
each
to business
other, you
development.
know? Right.
Exactly. So that's the beauty of marketing, because if there's so many different hats, it's not just one thing. So that's why I like it the most, I would say.
That's great. The reason I ask is because I feel like many people that start in Web3, you know, they start somewhere different, and then they find what they're good at, and then they put more energy in that. For example, me, I started as a collab manager for, you know, these Solana NFT projects. And the reason it helped me was because, you know, you grow a network, and then you can, okay, like, you know, all these people, and that's how you excel in the ecosystem. You know, networking is a very big part of it. And I mean, I'm gonna take a guess that you didn't study marketing at university, and here you are, perhaps
Dude,
doing it. You know,
I,
like
I studied like business and political science. Like the business helps out a little bit, but like I wasn't like
right.
a major in marketing. I wasn't like focused on that. If anything, I
That
was trying to go more of like the political lawyer career. I
right.
wasn't even thinking about
That's
entrepreneurship
my
and like
point
growing a
exactly.
business. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it is quite inspiring, you know, to see you working with a well-established name in the space, Solflare. Where clearly, as long as you're, you know, doing what you're meant to do, as long as you're actually, you know, excelling and making the team happy, then that's all that matters. This shows that practically anyone, as long as they put in the work and be in the space and make a living of it, and you know, work and contribute, I think that's very good. So that's
I couldn't
amazing.
agree more. You don't need to
Yeah,
be the most technologically advanced. You don't even need to have studied computer science. As long as you're willing to show up every day, work hard, stay consistent in a volatile industry, and show genuine support and authentic content, like you're gonna go so much further than a lot of people, you know. And a
right.
lot of people shy away from the work in this space. You know, even like what you're doing now, like putting on this content to like edit to like post, you know, and like you're going to be scheduling other streams, and that's where like the collab manager experience comes in, because now like your network, you're tapping into that network to schedule guests, to now make content.
Exactly.
And so it all is kind of centrical, like everything that you do in the space matters, you know.
It's true.
And
Everything you do does matter. And being authentic is super important as well. As you mentioned, you know, you have a reputation to hold. Even though the space is large, crypto Twitter in general is not that big. Like, you know who the good actors are, you know who the bad actors are, and it's incredibly important to keep up with that, right? I mean, to keep up with your character, your persona. So that's a very good point as well. Can you tell us a bit about your role at Solflare, as in your day to day, right? So, okay, you're the marketer at Solflare. What does it actually look like to be the marketer for a large wallet such as Solflare?
so
Perhaps stuff that is boring, stuff that is fun. Tell us a bit.
I think it's all fun. Some people would say it's boring, but I think it's all fun. But it's interesting to see how it's evolved actually, because as we've grown, so has our team. So like responsibilities that I would start out with, like planning the content calendar, so that we have some organization of like, okay, today we have 3 posts that we're going to try to get out, and we're going to make sure that like we're on top of the timeline. So if we see anything else that's trending, that's popular, we'll be able to respond to it. But at least we know we have this content that's planned. A part of the algorithm is making sure that you have replies done. So that's like a huge focus in the beginning on like running the socials, as well as like responding to all the incoming messages and inquiries that are coming in. And then it evolves from there, because because I was responsible for like hosting a space. So now it's like tapping into our network, like scheduling the guests, like putting together an agenda. I take my spaces like super serious. I'll send over the questions that I want to ask for approval so that we make sure we're on the same page, you know,
Okay.
and then it evolved to streaming. So a lot of it's like working with different projects. And now because I meet so many different projects and spaces and streaming, that's where like the business development side has like really started to take a larger part of my day, is like talking to a lot of different projects on a day to day, seeing how we're communicating, running different campaigns, following up with some of those campaigns for like future endeavors, and also planning, since I've been a lot of the events. Planning travel obviously is also like a part of, like I just had to get everything scheduled for my trip to LA coming up this week, and you know, so that's also like a part of the life as well. But I would say I'm just like always active in either like the space or like in our Slack and community. So I'm
It's
always
really
reachable for
important.
anything
Yeah.
that's needed, you know? So every day is a little different, but the responsibilities have either grown or like changed a little bit. But it's been awesome because as they've grown, I've had more people come on to help me out, and our team's awesome.
That's really good. That's really good. I would say being on top of everything active, I mean, is super important, especially in Web3. Like you mentioned, trends are really important to be on top of because you can leverage them. As you said, you know, if there's a trend, Solflare needs to be on top of it, or at least the account of Twitter needs to be on top of it, you know, like something just to show that you are, you know, constantly in the loop with these trends. Um, uh,
Yeah, the
I,
trends are your friends, not only for the charts and
right,
for trading, but
right.
also for marketing and
For
for
sure.
socials and, you know, following the algorithm. You know, you can't
For
try to
sure.
fight against the trend, you know?
And I'm not sure if you noticed, but even like these other large accounts like Binance, Coinbase, they've started shifting their sort of intern approach on X to be a more like funny with the trend, you know, less corporate, a bit more friendly. And I think that works in favor most of the time. That works in favor because it's like, okay, your users are not that serious. Typically, they I mean, as in they're not as technical, right? As the main people in the company are. So the image, as you said, the marketer should resonate with the community on in that sense, and basically show that okay, like we get the trends, we get that stuff. Now moving on to so right, marketing. Mainly it's done on X. Have you guys thought about, or if so, are you guys doing other channels? Like we know there is streaming. You can take advantage of streaming. We have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have TikTok. There are so many channels where to gain attention from, right? Are you guys tapping into those channels? Where is most of the energy going into? I know X is obviously at the top, but in my opinion, you should definitely make use of all the attention that there is out there. Are you guys doing that? Have you started any campaigns to sort of move into that direction? Um, uh, Tell me a bit
That's
about
a
that,
great
Rex.
It's a great question and thought process, and it's something that's a little bit higher level because as the space is evolving, that's what eventually we all need to accept and expand to. And I would say that we are starting to tap into those realms of social media, but in a more strategic way because it's a different type of audience. And so,
True.
like on crypto Twitter, like you had just mentioned, these larger, you know, central exchanges are coming in with the more like degen personality to relate to the culture and being communicated there, but that doesn't necessarily translate over to, let's say, Reddit, which is going to be
Right.
extremely important for onboarding. You know, there's a lot of people that go there with questions and are trying to like read and learn, and we
Very
need to
technical.
curate a certain type of content for there, while also, like you had just mentioned, taking advantage of like platforms like TikTok or YouTube, which we are gearing up towards to be posting clips, for example, or streaming on those. And again, it's all going to be in like a strategy way where we're going to try little by little releasing content that just because it's going to be something that we're going to have to play with a little bit until we figure out our niche and our audience. Because otherwise we're just asking our entire audience from crypto Twitter to come over and follow us on YouTube. But that's not really the idea for onboarding a billion users. We want to tap into the YouTube communities that are only on YouTube, that are finding
Right.
us and then finding us engaging, entertaining, and educational enough to like be part of our community or download the wallet. So that's it's we're gonna expand, and we have been expanding a little, but in more of a strategic way.
I think that's a very good response. Um, uh, that's actually, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. nailed it in. Obviously, each channel
Nice. So
has
I'm
its
winning so
own.
far on the guest so far, right? On AY, I'm like the top guest so far. I'm setting the
Sorry?
Foxy bar. I'm setting the Foxy bar for guests on AY right now. So
Yes, yes. I can't say anything though. I don't want the other people to hate me.
it's all right, man. Hey, it's all on chain and here on the video, so they can watch back
Nick
and,
said
and
it. No, I mean, like you said, TikTok, obviously, you have the doom scrollers on TikTok, you have YouTube, people that like longer video formats, Instagram, sort of more picturesque. So I feel like depending on the channel, you will post different type of content, as you mentioned, and yes, that makes a lot of sense. Now, next, what I'm interested in is, okay, let's say education. I feel like with a product like this, education is important with onboarding, right? So we first have the people that know what a wallet is, how to use it, and they perhaps go into more technical sides as why to use yours as opposed to the competitors. Um, uh, I'm sure that you guys um, express or like you guys communicate these differences, and there will be some people that understand it, some that don't. But when marketing or when pushing the product out, do you guys take into account that some people may not care about the advantages or differences, as opposed to perhaps other users that are joining you guys specifically because you're actually better? Are there different approaches with these types of marketing? I'm not sure if you're getting what I'm saying, but let's say person A, person B. Person A is just getting into crypto. Person B has been into crypto. Are you guys going to use the same way to convince person A and B to join Solflare, or two different ways? How is that done?
that's a really good question. And education as a wallet is extremely important because we are essentially the gateway to crypto. If you want to use your favorite dApps and protocols, you need a wallet and you need to understand the responsibility that comes with, holding your own keys and being responsible. So it's a multifaceted question because there's what we do to tackle this on the marketing standpoint is there's four pillars of education in our eyes. Is number one is the app, is like the intuitiveness, the clean UI UX, how easy and resemble it is to like a Web2 financial app, so that it makes like using it almost as seamless as possible, but it still
Right.
has all the features of like everyone that's needed. The next is like what we're really proud of is our 24/7 customer support. 24/7 days a week, 24 hours, 7 days a week, you can reach out to a live agent that's able to assist you with questions and help out with anything like issues that you're having. Blockchain transactions are irreversible, so they can't like if you send money to a wrong address, they can't do
Exactly.
anything about that, but
Yeah.
they can help explain how this happened. And then the next two that we really focus on is we've added an entire education forum on our website. This has been worked on for a long time. It's up to date with all of our branding and all of like the newest like features, as well as like some of the newer technology and terminology that's in the space. And then the fourth that's also been a huge success for us is our community, and that especially on a grassroots organic marketing side, that's done wonders for us because as people are coming into the space, as our community grows and more people trust us in the ecosystem, they themselves have voices and communities. So when their community comes in and is asking like, oh, what wallet should I be using? You should be using Solflare. And when new people come into the space and they're like, well, this YouTube video is not making sense and I don't want to read all this, but this person that's speaking in spaces makes a lot of sense and I like their jokes and they vibe with me. They're saying use Solflare, I'm going to use Solflare. And chances are they're going to always use Solflare because if it took people this long to come in this space, you're not going to like teach an old dog new tricks. So if they learn how to use Solflare and we get them right from the beginning, the chances of them going to learn a whole nother wallet at this point is like 0 to none.
And
So it's really
I
important that first touch point.
I really want to emphasize how important the first contact with the user is, in order to, of course, retain them, right? Because listen, I mean, it is so easy for a user to be like, oh, this is so, I can't figure this out. Let me just change wallet. They'll do it instantly. You know what I mean? So if you're able to grab them, in the sense that they download the app and they're instantly enjoying the experience, you're most likely going to retain them for quite a long time, you know? Um,
And that's
um,
where it goes back to the first pillar of having like the strong product. You come
right,
in, there's a whole like tutorial video. You could skip over it, but like for new people, like it's exciting. Like they're creating their
right.
first wallet. There's animations. It's showing them step by step what to do. And then when you get there, there's like customization features. You can change your banner at the top. So it's really like a personalized experience, but like everything is still there. Buy, swap, send, receive. So it's all basic. Like, okay, I could see this as like my normal like Wells Fargo or Bank of America app, but like it says Solflare, So it's like it's getting close to the neo bank finance app that we're trying to make it
I
essentially.
like that. I like, and I'm assuming the name Solflare. So you guys are operating on the on Solana chain, like solely, right? Do you
Exclusive.
know where the name came from? Like, was it a different name before, or I don't really know the origins, but I'm assuming they put Sol in there to make it, Sol Flame maybe. I know you guys had a rebrand, right? Was it?
Yeah, we had the rebrand, which I know more about than the origin story of the name. I know that the old logo was kind of a napkin on a paper in 10 minutes that was like supposed to be temporary, and it just ended up sticking for 5 years.
Was it like a
So
comet?
yeah, it looked like a
Yeah, it was
little
like
like blob
yeah. Okay,
and
okay,
like a comet, like a flare. Yeah, and
right.
so it was
Ah, that's where the flare came from. Okay.
this was well, I'm assuming because I'm actually gonna find out where the origin of Solflare came from because it's just always since I downloaded the wallet, that was always my first wallet was Solflare. So that's always what it's been. But with the rebrand, we
With the
changed
rebrand.
the logo. Yeah, so we changed like the S to have like the flag to again symbolize like with the kingdom because we're really trying to focus on the idea that like your wallet, your kingdom, your crown, you wear the crown, and in a kingdom, no one else is above the king. So like no one else is signing the transaction, for you. No one else is approving and
You're in
connecting. Like
control of
you
your
are in
own
control.
funds.
You're a
Right.
kingdom. And
Right.
so that like is part of our whole branding. But it really was like a more mature brand because eventually we are going to grow into a neo bank, and we are planning ourselves to compete with the likes of like Revolut and some of these larger institutions.
You need
And
to position yourself, right?
exactly. And it couldn't be done off of like a cartoon logo, and we wanted like a different color pattern that wasn't like a blue, purplish, that's been always kind of like the Solana. It's loud, it's impactful, and at first, a lot of people liked it. Some people were a little bit, but now it's like grown on everyone as we've, used
I
it.
mean, in general, you're never gonna get 100% of everyone supporting the rebrand. It's just impossible. So as long as you know the majority like it, that's fine. I actually wanted to know: is it? Would you say it's a risk to rebrand your, entire product? I would assume that it might be. It can be risky if it's done badly. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
if you do it like Cracker Barrel or something, yeah, I mean that could implode on you. I don't know if you heard about that in like the United States. It's like an old timey restaurant. And they took off like the old timer next to it, and then everyone went crazy and they had to change it
Is
again.
there
So
is there that sense of hesitation in the team, like before you're gonna rebrand, making sure the brand kit is perfect? Is there that like this is scary or not? Because I mean, you're changing the way your brand looks. I mean, let's take for example Coca-Cola, right? Everybody knows how the logo looks, or Nike, right? If you change that logo, it can be scary, because everybody recognizes Nike with the swoosh. So okay.
absolutely. And I think to answer your question, it's I look at it more of an opportunity. And I kind of see it as like only like a one-time opportunity that you'll have as like as a company in a project. I mean, unless you go through like an acquisition and there's like a reasoning for it. If you're just like the same, team, same founders, you have like a one-time opportunity to do this. And with Solflare, there wasn't as much worry because this was worked on for over a year and a half. We worked with actual professionals like Ragged Edge Studios, who worked with a lot of like other big brands before, and this was like done over the course of over a year. So everything was planned down to like the
I
details, the
I like
colors,
that you
everything.
said opportunity because I feel like if a brand is not doing too well, a rebrand is always an opportunity to start maybe from scratch, or sort of give the impression that you're starting new and you want to sort of give a new face to the product. Like you want to kill the old one and make an even better improved face. So like you said, a rebrand is a very good opportunity um uh, to do that. Okay.
Oh yeah, and it's like either hammering down on like your new culture, reconnecting with like your new community, or like even just like positioning yourself to go in a direction that your company now is like focused on the roadmap. It's a huge opportunity for
It
a big
is.
shift, but I think it's something that needs to be planned for. And I think where
Yes.
you had mentioned where people get worried, like, oh my God, is this going to go out right, or am I? It's because not enough planning was done into this. So talk to a professional team, get plenty of time, take plenty of time and advice. It's not something that should be rushed at all.
Definitely, definitely. Okay. So I mean, Solflare is a Web3 product, right? Can you identify any differences when it comes to marketing a Web3 product versus a general tech product or a Web2 product? Can you identify any differences that are actually large or maybe small? I'm sure there are. I mean, they have to, right? A Web3 audience is completely different to a Web2 audience where you're selling a normal, wallet Google application. But we're dealing with crypto here. There has to be a difference in marketing strategy. What do you think?
The biggest marketing barrier is the friction on the education, like we had talked about earlier, because it's not a problem of like getting them hyped to just go into your Apple or Google store and download the app. Like everyone in the world knows how to download apps, right? That's not the difficult part. But once they download the app, is using the app. Things like knowing to need Solana to complete transactions, as like a gas fee. That's something that needs to be explained, and we're constantly looking for new ways to do that and different features in our wallet that's going to create that education for our users as they use the app, instead of having to like put the app down, leave the app to go seek out that information elsewhere. So it's been challenging on the marketing, because you need to get that education through first, because everyone can download the app, we can incentivize it, create like a giveaway, but then what's to keep people using the app? What's to keep them swapping in wallet, to have them stake, to go and explore, to interact with more dApps? Because that's also our responsibility, because as other projects market, we work closely with, let's say, for example, Marinade. That's a great product, a great revenue stream for DeFi. But unless people know how to use the Solflare wallet, they're never going to be able to access the Marinade platform, because you can't access like a platform or protocol like that without a Solana wallet. And so they share the same marketing struggles as we do. And so that's why it's also important to cross collab with a lot of teams, to reach out to their communities, because they've already have established people that have broken that barrier of education, and now we're trying to tap into those communities, and it's also easier to onboard from those communities because they have their own education system, and then it's just kind of throwing Solflare into the mix in that. Where it's
Okay.
like, okay, so we're going to get you started in the Star Atlas game, you're going to get a ship, you're going to get a crew, so you just open up your Solflare wallet, here you're going to see like where the NFTs and collectibles are, and it just becomes like seamless without having to be a shill. So that's like what we're really focused on marketing right now, and why we
Okay.
put so much emphasis on cross collaborations, because we all in Web3 face that same struggle of barrier to entry because of that education and knowledge, and
That's true. Yeah.
that's just what we
Education
all
is
have to deal
important.
with.
And in the case with the wallet, I would say the main goal here is getting as much, traffic through the product, right? So would
Billion
you
users.
would you
That's the goal.
say a billion users?
That's my personal
You guys are
Foxy goal.
currently
Yeah,
at 3 million plus, if I'm not
3
mistaken.
million plus.
So a
Yeah,
great
so we got a long
milestone.
way to go.
Um,
Thanks
uh,
for
I
reminding me.
mean,
0.3%.
0.3, 0.3%. That's something. I wanted to ask you personally, what do you personally think? At this current stage, does it make more sense to educate current users who are already using Solflare and giving them perhaps more reasons to use more tools in Solflare? Because perhaps, you have users that just hold funds on the wallet or they just swap. But there are so many other functions that are available, I know of, that I don't use because it just looks complex to me. So, where would you put your energy into? Would you put it into educating current users to get them to expand to the other side of Solflare and not just holding your money in the wallet? Or would it be on onboarding new users? What makes more sense right now for you guys?
So in a lot of projects, they would have a one or two answer, but unfortunately with Solflare, because we have a responsibility as like the gateway to crypto, it has to be a little bit of both. Like we're not able to just get away with one or the other, because we're going to have users come from like both avenues, and we have to be prepared. We have to have a strong education system in place for our own Solflare ecosystem, so that as people are seeing us, hearing about us, learning about us, and they're doing their own research and due diligence, and they're coming into the space, they're able to find everything that they need within Solflare. But we also have a responsibility to be supporting some of these projects that are established, that have their own means of on-ramping and their own strong communities, and are doing their own outreach and events to help support them, and to show like Solflare's here for Solana. You guys are here for Solana. Like, let's work together. Let's support each other, and then actually
Right.
following through on that and like, helping out with their either buying into their project or hosting events and sponsorships. We sponsored all of these, for example, and I want to break away because I think like a lot of people, I don't want to misconstrue with just like an NFT project or a token like Monkey DAO, because we tap into super teams. We've sponsored almost every startup village of the week-long events for all the super teams around the world, and that has done wonders for onboarding because it's brought on not only new users but developers that are actually developing their apps and protocols using their Solflare wallet, then coming back and like asking questions and helping provide feedback, which helps make a better product for us. And so now we're capturing all of these super teams, and like that's their main job, is to onboard people into Solana and the ecosystem and help support their super team in that region. And now we're their official wallet. So that's how it has to be, like a little bit of both. We have to be
I
prepared to
see.
support the projects, but also have our education in place, because as a wallet, it's a little different.
Right. No, I mean, very good answer. You definitely need both. Because if you're putting too much energy in one, you're going to lack on the other, and it's just going to offset any good thing you're trying to do. I'm actually curious about sponsoring, right? You constantly see, whether in sports or whatnot, these massive brands, they put their logos on. And in my head, I'm thinking these guys are spending millions just to have their logo on a car or something. Now, you mentioned that you guys like to sponsor these super teams or these events that happen. I've seen the logo myself on a number of different of events in blockchain and in crypto in general. Does it actually work? Is there an actual what are you guys looking for when you put the logo there? Is it to actually on board? Is it to remind people that Solflare exists and it's constantly there? Is it to keep it in their head? Like, okay, they see the logo. I saw it there at this event. It must be good. Let's check it out. What is the approach? You know what I mean? Like, people spend
No,
so much
and
money
that's
just to have a logo.
that's a very high level observation, because in all honesty, like, just to be completely honest, and like any like marketer will tell you this, is that there's no like trackable metrics that are like measurable after those events, after like a sponsorship, like like if you put your logo on an F1 car, like how many conversions of that is to new
Right.
users of your product?
Because
Like there's no way to track that.
that's
You
like
could
10
see a
million minimum, I feel like.
Exactly. So you could see that on the algorithm. Let's say you could post like Pengu, for example. They have their NASCAR sponsorship. They're doing like thousands of impressions from the NASCAR pictures. They can track and be like, okay, our NASCAR sponsorship got us this amount of engagement on the timeline. But they're not able to say this got us this amount of new holders or this many people bought during the
Right.
race or that. Those metrics aren't trackable yet. So with that premise and that context, the best way that we've seen positive feedback is from these events and from larger people in the ecosystem that hold positions of power reaching out to us post event and being, hey, this and this happened at the event, Solflare was there, that's awesome. Or, this team connected with people at our event there, and now this relationship came about. Those are like tangible relationships that come from these events that we're not going to be able to track. How many downloads did we get from Super Team Japan this past week,
Right.
or from Super Team Balkans, or how much like swaps went through? But when we have 5 different projects that reach out and they're like, hey, we listened to your workshop and we were working on this, can we collab? Or we have individual people from Super Team Balkans, like high members in the community, reaching out and being like, oh, your representative did so great, we did this and this. Those aren't like measurable metrics, but they matter in
They matter
Web3.
for sure.
They
Right.
matter to us, if that makes sense. And
Yes.
like, and that's like an honest answer, because anyone that's going to tell you there's ways to track, there isn't. It's even difficult to get the API from Twitter. You know what I mean? So like, it's
It
difficult
is.
in our marketing. Yeah.
No, I mean, in my opinion, I feel like the contrary to doing it is to not do it, and then you sort of lose that awareness, right? So doing it is definitely for the brand, for the awareness. And I think it's definitely a psychological thing where people, okay, they see the brand, they know what it is, they're seeing, like, I mean, like Fly Emirates, for example, you see it everywhere, right? And so it is constantly in our head, okay, Emirates is one of the best airlines in the world, and because you see it everywhere. So I
But
think
do you
do
think that that's just because people know that it's an airline, right? I think that a lot of this is wasted because people are looking at it and they're like, oh, wow, that's, let's say I see Bonk, for example. I love Bonk. I'm super bullish. I hold a bunch of Bonk. But I imagine like people watching a football game and they see Bonk go across, they're like, oh, Bonk, but they don't understand like, oh, that's a meme token on Solana. Whereas they see Fly Emirate, they already know that's an
Yeah,
airline.
yeah. Or they see
That's the
crypto.com, they
education
actually
barrier.
know it's an exchange, right?
Exactly.
Right. So you definitely need to know how to use it, because if you just have a logo, you can't even search the logo, right? So um, uh, you have to play with it well, especially if it costs so much, has to be done right. But in general, if you're sponsoring blockchain events, most people know the logo. So I feel like in that case specifically, since you guys are obviously not sponsoring football matches but crypto events, then it works out more in your favor, right? So your target audiences are attending these events and whatnot. Okay,
I'm
that makes
pushing for
sense.
F1 also, trust me. I used to work for Red Bull, so anything to get us back into F1, I would be
You work
so
for
bullish
Red
on.
Bull?
Yeah, before all this, I worked for Red Bull. And then I just started doing Web3 and hosting
Okay.
spaces, and eventually it just got to the point where it was like too much. Like work, Web3, let's go
We
full
should
time
get into
Web3.
that. How did Web3 happen? How did it all happen?
Well,
I
originally
mean,
because Red Bull they have an F1 team and they Tezos was a sponsor of their team, and that's where I originally like learned like Red Bull onboarded us. I got Tezos and I swapped it for Shiba Inu because I'm like I'm gonna be a millionaire, dude. I'm gonna quit my job. Like it's yeah. See you guys later, man. Like have fun, show up to work, and obviously that didn't work out. But it eventually that what's like led me to like learn about blockchain and then find my way to Solana, and then I just
and did you
obviously
start like
Solana.
networking on your own? Did you look for a Web3 job to, start making an income from Web3? Or
No, I was just
what was your
honestly,
first job like
I was
in
honestly
Web3?
just fascinated with the space. So I just showed up every day. I was just hosting spaces just because I was curious about new projects that were minting and things that are going on in the ecosystem. So I just created
What's
content
the
and I was just hosting
timeline?
spaces. Yeah, and then eventually what happens is when you build a brand in Web3, you'll start getting approached by projects because again, going back to the earlier marketing phase, it's easier to market with a community that's established than trying to onboard and educate new users.
I
And
agree.
so projects that are coming in that are growing their project and their community, they want to collaborate and tap into other communities and they want like any exposure they can get. So they'll hop onto an hour Twitter space with the Fox. I don't charge. It's free. You could come if you want to give away NFTs. That's great. Like and repost the room. But I'm just trying to grow my brand, and so I did that for a couple years until I got. I was originally an ambassador with Sniper, Soul Sniper. So shout out Maz and the team.
Oh, I know
Got
the.
acquired, bro. So bullish on them. But
Wait.
then
Do you
there was a
remember
problem.
when these hybrid NFTs were
The
popular?
404s, dude.
The
Oh yeah, I was
404.
here for all that.
You
I
remember
was here
Soul
for all
Sniper?
that.
They created the 404 launchpad.
That was that. Yeah, dude.
What was their first mint? Lolly or something.
The
You remember
lollies.
that?
Yeah, the
I was
lollies.
behind that.
Oh man, dude, the
I was their
lollies.
CM.
Oh, you were King
Anyways,
Candy?
yes,
You
yes.
were King Candy, I remember, dude. Dude, it was
Yes.
all there. I love the 404s. The tech is there, but it was just so early. It's just people just didn't understand. And I think that like there's also the problem with the math because like people were taking advantage of the arbitrage opportunities of like going between the token and
Keep
the
swapping
NFT.
NFTs with tokens
Yeah.
and sort
So,
of.
but you gotta if we dial in the math and like the correct like amount that's supposed to be held in like the pool and like the exact math and make it like kind of like it
Balanced.
has to scale as like it's getting like smaller and diminished, because there was just too many arbitrage opportunities. But
Right.
I love 404s. I love the ability of connecting the token to the NFT because you're able to like fractionalize ownership, stay part of the community, opens up new DeFi
It's a
opportunities.
very good
I'm all
concept,
for
I
it.
feel like.
I
Right.
loved it, dude, but it just never caught on, dude.
It didn't.
But originally that was my first ambassador role, and then they had a little situation that had to take away the ambassador role away because Zach XBT posted, and then I wasn't, and then I got approached by Solflare, and they offered me an ambassadorship, and I was obviously super grateful for that, and I took it super seriously. I started hosting all my spaces were powered by Solflare. I would be serious about the guests that come on. I'd be making content about Solflare, and so it's just like the work that I put in that differentiated myself then from the other ambassadors of why they noticed me more and then offered me a new position. And I
And
started as an entry level, and they're like, "All right, you want to do more? Prove to us that you could be a support fox." deal
That's
with all the
really
people
sick.
of like, I sent tokens to a wrong address, give me back my money, or I just bought this token and now it's down, give me back my money, and like, having to deal with those questions and honestly some helping out a lot of users. It gave me like the tools and the knowledge to like deal with a lot of questions I would later
I mean,
face in
and it
marketing.
feels good to help, It
Oh,
feels
dude,
good to
that's
help,
that's why I do it, dude. That's
you
why I
know?
do it.
Someone has a problem, you solve it for them. It's a win-win. It feels great. I also wanted to mention, I feel like ambassadors, right? It is very important for a product or a company to have good ambassadors. If they have an ambassador who they did not do enough research in and they find out that this guy has been involved with some other bad stuff, it can, not ruin, but sort of damage the image of the company or Solflare in this case. Do you
That's a
guys
huge
take
risk.
certain measures?
Yeah, I understand that's a huge risk, but you have to understand the upside that comes with having an ambassador program. Like any project that is in Web3 that doesn't have an ambassador program, you're doing yourself truly a disservice for a number of reasons. Number one, it gives your community something to strive for, and it helps you kind of like choose between like a potential future employees essentially, because like that would be the stepping stone between being a team member.
There's healthy
Um,
competition, right, between
there's
the
healthy competition,
ambassadors.
and also from a marketing standpoint, like even I understand I'm a fox. I may be like the face of Solflare, but I'm not everyone's vibe. Like my jokes aren't going to land with every single person, and I understand that. And so we have to have like a diverse, like multifaceted marketing strategy that involves ambassadors from all different areas around the world that speaks all different language from all different nationalities, so that there's always an ambassador that can relate to our community in some way. There's like in some way, some format in our community, there's like an ambassador that like you can relate with, or like a team member or community member. And I think that it's important because again, like it gives that empowerment. Not only does it help with the algorithm, obviously with X having that badge, it shows you up higher in the algorithm, so your chances for monetization go up exponentially. But it gives people that first like step of like responsibility and like ownership, and
You
because
feel like you're part of the team, right? You feel like
yes.
you're part of the brand and you're responsible for helping grow it, right?
And there needs to be more of that in the space, if I'm honest, Zach,
I think
because
that's
to
really
be
good.
real, like too many people think to like they need to be founders or they need to be traders, and like they're just not cut out for it. And no offense, because they're bright, they found their way here, but they would be so much better like using their skill set, providing value to an established company. And it may seem as a way of like putting the fries in the bag, and like if so, like I'm totally cool with that, dude. What's your order? You want, you need salt and ketchup
Humble
with that?
yourself and
I'm
you
so
need to
happy,
contribute,
dude,
right?
because it's how you grow with it. It's
Right,
how you grow because
right.
generally the project wants you to grow. Soulflare wants my brand to grow because the better my brand is, the better Soulflare looks, and that only benefits me because in the future, if I ever wanted to do anything with the Quicks brand after working with Soulflare, I'm already so much more established. My network is so much more solidified and diverse and larger, and so I would encourage more people to, instead of trying to chase out that entrepreneurship from the very beginning, which is there, it's what Web3 is about, like having financial freedom,
I
but
mean,
take
it's
advantage
what
of
got
the
you to where you are now. Even though you're not doing your own thing, it is still definitely you're working for yourself. Perhaps in the future, once you establish a good network, like you said, I mean, look at you. You're doing marketing for Solflare. I'm sure you've, made so many good friends. Perhaps in the future, they can help you build your own thing if that ever is something that you want to do. And so at least you have a foundation, okay? You've made your friends, you have your network, you've proven yourself to a rather big company that knows you're capable of doing XYZ, and then you can take the next step if that's something you want to do. Um, uh,
And I'm sure
and
after
that
like 5, 10, 15 years of Soulflare, like they probably let me do whatever I want, dude. They're like, look, he wants to start this like race car team, like he's been here for 15 years, dude. Like we're just gonna let him do it. It's gonna,
screw
like
it,
kind of like
fuck
Clint Eastwood with
it.
Warner Brothers. They let him make whatever movies he wants, and like that's it. You get that like kind of like that veteran. Because again, we're all in like a giant startup. So if you treat your opportunities that you get like this as a startup, like it, and you take it seriously and you make those sacrifices in the beginning, the rewards aren't there immediately, but then they start to snowball and they become like exponent. Like the rewards that you start getting and the wins that start compounding after like putting in that time in the space are just incredible, man. It truly
I
is.
agree.
It makes it
No,
all
I
worth
agree.
it.
Okay, so moving, we are getting close to the end, so I have a final, somewhat interesting question to do with Solflare and how it deals with competition. As you know, a wallet in Web3 is a super competitive niche, super competitive. Why? Because in general, nobody, especially when you're a beginner in the space, you don't really know the difference between one wallet from the other hundreds of wallets that are available. So how do you guys position yourself without coming off as, assholes when dealing with competitors like Backpack or Phantom or others in the space? Because obviously, there's one side to the coin where you want to give the impression or show people that you are either better than them, or that there are slight things that you are better in, but perhaps worse in. So how do you give the impression that, okay, use us, but you don't want to sort of come off as, a jerk when you're saying use us? Do you get what I'm saying? Is there
No,
that
it's a,
sort
it's a
of,
great question. It's a
you know what I
healthy
mean?
balance also because it's like almost at all times like we could turn that on and be like we're the first wallet in Solana. We're literally faster, we're safer because we only build for Solana. We're not multi-chain, so it allows us to build vertically. So we don't have to push an update and make sure that it works on this chain and is this feature going to be affected, because it's like multi-chain. No, we just build in shit for Solana, so we're literally just a better experience, and we could stand on business on that. You know what I mean, and come from that approach. But we truly believe that a rising tide raises all ships, and while we're focused more on the whole being synonymous with Solana. When you think of Solana, you want to think of Solflare. Like if you need a wallet for Solana, you think of Solflare, and having that yeah, and that's the goal, and that's what's going to help achieve us as the number one wallet. But getting there is what we're doing as far as like with the collaborations, the sponsorships of events, being everywhere that Solana's present. Because anytime that we're sponsoring a Solana event, we're present there. We always have some sort of relationship with like the foundation or labs team that's working with them. We're also like obviously being showcased on like the timeline from like Solana. We've gotten reposted and posted from them a bunch. So having all that support like just brings us closer and closer. Every single time that there's a Solana event or like something big going on in Solana, chances are Solflare is there sponsoring, and having that symbiotic relationship with Solana is what is like our long-term play, as opposed to just going out there and like dunking on competitions for doing this, or like another person got drained using this, and use
Right.
Solflare. Like it's safer, it's faster, it's cheaper in most
I
instances, but
agree. You want to
we,
get
we're,
to the point where, like you said, people think Solana, Solflare, right? I mean, when I think of crypto exchanges, for example, what do you think? You think Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, Crypto.com, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's what you
literally
think of.
that's like the four, like
Those are the
that's like
four,
the four, yeah.
right? And then obviously you have so many others, but they they have no volume. People don't know about them. Why would I use that when there's Binance and Coinbase, etc., etc.? So with a wallet, I mean, it's the same thing. And what you guys have got going for you is that you're strictly on Solana, so it allows you to put 100% of your power into just Sol and not the other chains, as you mentioned. So I think that's a very good plus. Um, uh, and yes, I think you answered that greatly. We're gonna have to conclude with the episode, Nick. First, I want to say I think the conversation was great. I really appreciate you coming on here, answering our questions. Deep diving. Explaining for other people who are actually watching this on what marketing means for a Web3 company. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you have any closing remarks that you'd like to share, please do so. Feel free. Uh,
Obviously, use Solflare. Download it. You can download it in the Google or Apple store. Also, we're the new wallet that's powering the new Solana phone, the Seeker. Make sure that you're subscribing to the channel. AY, man, these guys are awesome. I've known them for quite some time. They've seen the journey of Quick, so being in this
have
position to be able to talk to them at this level has been like years in the making. And I've learned so much from Zach and shout out Baki and the team, man. You guys are absolutely awesome. So thank you all the viewers. I appreciate it. And then the last thing I'll leave you is that you can find your passion, whatever it is, and there's a way to bring value of that into Web3. There's a project that needs photography, editing, writing, business development, marketing, like whatever your niche is, whatever it is that you find passionate that you can't wait to wake up every day and do, there's a project that needs you in Web3.
An
Find them.
infinite amount of projects in Web3. There are so
Yeah.
many opportunities, I swear.
So many.
So
So
many.
that's my message, man. Show up every day, follow your passion, and it's gonna come to you, man. I
What can I
appreciate
say, Quicks? You've been the best. Thank you so much.
it. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for the time. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.